Not on the to-do list. On AO3. Summary. Shouta didn't want to fall in love, but he did anyways. Shouta didn't consider himself the type to fall in love. He had considered, up until this point, that he would die alone, with the exception of a cat or two. Falling in love was most definitely, without a doubt, not on his to-do list. Some things he found out didn't exactly go according to his life plan. For instance, his life plan didn't account for some blonde-haired, loud-mouthed classmate to waltz up to his desk and into his life on his first day in the hero course, especially since he determined that anyone would try their best to ignore him. He really, really didn't like Hisashi at first. He found his presence to be somewhat obnoxious, not only because of his volume or his personality, but because of his one-of-a-kind prescription sunglasses that he insisted that Shouta try on upon their second conversation. But, like a tumor, Hisashi began to grow on him with time. Shouta had developed a crush on his only friend in the hero course. In all honesty, he had called it a crush since one night in October when he couldn't stop thinking about Hisashi. He wanted to hang out with him and listen to his shitty pop music with him and hold his hand and kiss him. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, and from that point on, Shouta was determined to suppress his love any possible way he could. The 2 school days after that were spent almost completely ignoring Hisashi. They went, well, 2. Until Hisashi started crying because he thought he had hurt Shouta in some way. Shouta underminedly ditched that plan after that. He had done pretty well hiding his crush. He felt, well, probably up until today. It was a cold December morning, and Shouta was scuffling to school. He was never a morning person, and the weather only made him feel worse. As he was walking towards the school entrance, a familiar voice called his name. He lazily turned around, watching Hisashi jog to catch up to him. "Hey, Shouta!" he panted, chest heaving. "Your dad's out of town this weekend, right?" Shouta nodded and adjusted the scarf. He was really hoping this wasn't going where he thought it was going. "How about you stay at my place?" Hisashi asked. He stood up straight and gritted his big, stupid grin at Shouta, which made him melt just a little bit on the inside. Shouta nodded again, and Hisashi's eyes lit up like sparklers. He hated when they did that. "Great! I'm really looking forward to having you." Hisashi started towards the school entrance, and Shouta followed suit. He hated Hisashi's confident walk, and how it always made his heart pang slightly, but in a really good way. That day, like every other day, seemed to pass by quickly. Maybe being around his crush made things speed up for him. He wasn't sure. They walked home together like they usually did, Hisashi letting words upon words tumble out of his mouth, and Shouta silently listening. He found it hard to listen this time, though. He was preoccupied by the way Hisashi's eyes sparkled when he looked over him, and the way the corners of his mouth pulled upwards when he was about to make a joke that only he would think is funny, and the way he fidgeted with his earrings when he got lost in thought, letting his mouth run like a motor. "Shouta?" Shouta came back to reality with a slight jolt. Hisashi was waving his hand in front of him. He hadn't realized he was daydreaming for that long. "Oh, hey! Welcome back to Earth!" Hisashi laughed. "We're right in front of your house. I'll wait here. You get your things?" Shouta nodded for what seemed like the bajillionth time today as he stepped inside the house. Maybe Hisashi's quirk wasn't being ridiculously loud, but making it impossible for Shouta to speak when he's around. Shouta gathered the necessities, although it wasn't much. Some pajamas, his toothbrush, his cell phone, and some pencils. He figured were all he needed for his sleepover. He slung his bag over his shoulders and opened the door slightly. Hisashi was sitting on the steps, headphones on, dancing a little to whatever pop tune was topping the charts this week. Hisashi tapped his shoulder, making the other turn around with a jump. "Oh, hey!" Hisashi hung his headphones around his neck, and stood up. You ready to go? Yeah, Shouta said, borderline whispering, as he took the lead on the way to Hisashi's house. Hisashi went in first, probably to put the dog somewhere else so that it wouldn't scare the daylights out of Shouta like it did the first time he came over. A couple minutes passed before he opened the front door for Shouta, and Shouta let himself in. You want to head up to my room? I've got some new songs I've been dying to show you. Hisashi placed a hand on Shota's back, and Shouta gave a quick yes and followed Hisashi lead to his room. It was almost the same as he had first visited, but messier. There were more CDs. He noticed the stacks in piles upon piles next to his, what he assumed was expensive, CD player. The bed was still a mess. Hisashi never really bothered to make it when he got up. There was a pile of dirty laundry by the closet as well. Normally, these things would bug Shouta to no end, but because it was Hisashi, he found them to be oddly endearing. He liked that Hisashi wasn't trying to impress him, although he didn't see why he actually would. I got these CDs as soon as they were in stores, Hisashi started, placing one of them in the tray of CD players. He sat on the floor next to Shouta and waited eagerly for the music to start. Having Hisashi this close to Shouta was making his face heat up. He turned his head away, pretending to look around Hisashi's room, as if he had never been in it before. The song started just a couple seconds after, and Hisashi started humming along instantly. Shouta hated when he hummed, or when he sang. It always sounded so nice, like literal music to his ears. It always made his heart swell and his palms sweat a little more than usual. He turned his head slowly to look at Hisashi. It was a big mistake on his part, as he felt his face heat up almost instantaneously. Hisashi seemed to be lost in song, tapping his fingers and quietly singing along, eyes closed. Shouta felt like he would quite possibly die in this room. Hisashi opened his eyes and looked towards Shouta, concern spreading across his features, when he noticed his brush. Are you okay, Shouta? Hisashi placed the back of his hand on Shota's forehead, and Shouta almost melted. You don't have a fever or anything. What's up with you? Shouta grabbed his hands and shoved it into Hisashi's chest. I'm fine. Actually, you've been acting really weird lately, Hisashi continued. Shota's eyes widened slightly. Was Hisashi onto him? He hadn't nearly prepared for Hisashi to know about his not-so-small crush on him. He wasn't prepared for the inedible rejection. Come on, Shouta, you can tell me anything. It's nothing, Shouta huffed, crossing his arms in front of his chest. I'm fine. You're clearly not, dude. Hisashi moved from his position next to Shouta to in front of him. You don't have to hide anything. I'm here to help you in any way I can. That's what friends do. Shouta chewed at his bottom lip. He didn't know how much longer he could take this. Keeping his crush a secret was killing him, but it seemed like a small price to pay to keep himself from being rejected by him. He stared into Hisashi's unique eyes, which definitely wasn't helping his case. Shouta gulped and then took some deep breaths. Might as well rip the band-aid off, he figured. I like you, Shouta murmured. And Hisashi smiled and put a hand on his shoulders. I like you too, Shouta. No, Hisashi. Shouta looked down onto the floor, ears and cheeks tinted pink. I mean, I like you. As in, more than a friend? Hisashi went silent for a couple seconds. An extremely rare occurrence, especially around Shouta. Oh! Yeah. Shouta pouted and looked towards the wall this time. It's okay if you don't like me back. I was kind of anticipating that. The room was dead silent, and for the first time, Shouta hated it. Hisashi stared at Shota's face. Shouta could feel it. The atmosphere was stiffy, agonizing so, and it made him uncomfortable. I like you too. Shouta nearly choked on his own spit. He whipped his head towards Hisashi, eyes wide with surprise. thought I was being really obvious about it. Hisashi chuckled. I guess I was better at hiding it than I thought. Shouta felt as if the entire world was lifted off of his shoulders. He slumped back against the bed, attempting to regain his composure. Hisashi slid next to Shouta, arms wrapped around his knees. Shouta? Shouta hums in response. Do you want to kiss me? Shota's head shot up like a rocket. He knew he didn't have to say anything. The embarrassment was apparent on his face. Hisashi chuckled and nudged Shouta with an elbow. We don't have to if you don't want to, Hisashi said. I was just wondering if you wanted... Shouta grabbed the sides of his face, albeit a little too tightly, and cut Hisashi off with a kiss. It was slightly awkward. Their noses bumped once or twice, but sweet nonetheless. He could feel Hisashi melt into it, turning to wrap his arms around Shota's shoulders. For some reason, a few seconds of kissing felt like an eternity to Shouta. He pulled away slowly, gazing into Hisashi's eyes one more time. Hisashi laughed again and placed his forehead against Shota's own. You've been wanting to do that for a while, huh? Shouta nodded slightly. I can tell, Hisashi whispered. You seemed pretty excited. I wasn't that excited, Shouta grumbled. Hisashi laughed again. You were pretty excited. It was cute. I'm not cute. If you say so. Shouta rolled his eyes and pressed a small kiss to the tip of Hisashi's nose. Falling in love was most definitely, without a doubt, not on his to-do list. But he was so glad it happened. We have to love tooth-rotting Fluff after I come back from work. I worked 4 hours today, which isn't as much as I'm going to work tomorrow since I'm literally waking up so I could go to work at 5:30 and then come back around 2. So, yeah. 5:30 in the morning, by the way. Just wanted to let you know. Yeah. So, this is such a cute little one-shot. I will say, the upcoming one-shots are, like, basically just Eraser Mike, because Eraser Mike, I'm gonna be getting some Bakudeku one-shots. If there's any, like, ship you guys want to see, please put it in the comments, and I will one-shot that type of fic, like, that ship. Or at least I will try to. I need to get, permission first. I've also been working on writing my own one-shots. For just in case when I run out and stuff like that, to have a little archive of, like, these are my one-shots, and just in case I need to, I will pull them up, or I'll just pull them up randomly, depending on how I feel like it. But as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server. Link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.